Could humanity ever turn Venus into a second Earth? Venus is the most Earth-like planet in our solar system. Same size, same mass, same rocky surface. Scientists once called it Earth's twin. And for decades, people assumed that if we were ever going to make a second home somewhere in this solar system, Venus was the obvious candidate. They were wrong. Catastrophically wrong. Because Venus is not a twin. It is a warning. A planet that started almost identical to Earth and somehow transformed into the most hostile environment in the entire solar system, with surface temperatures hot enough to melt lead, atmospheric pressure that would crush a submarine, and clouds made of pure sulfuric acid raining down continuously from above. And the terrifying part is not what Venus looks like today. It is what it would take to change it. I went through the planetary science, the terraforming proposals, and the atmospheric physics to show you exactly why Venus cannot be fixed, not in a century, not in a millennium, possibly not ever. Stay with me, because the third reason is the one that closes the door permanently. Start with what you are actually dealing with when you look at Venus. The surface temperature sits at approximately 465 degrees Celsius every single day, night and day. Poles and equator, it makes no difference. Venus maintains that temperature with almost no variation across the entire planet. For comparison, that is hotter than the surface of Mercury. Despite Mercury being more than twice as close to the Sun, Mercury gets cold at night because it has no atmosphere to trap heat. Venus never cools down because its atmosphere is the problem. The Venusian atmosphere is 96% carbon dioxide, nearly pure greenhouse gas, layered 60 kilometers deep, creating an atmospheric pressure at the surface of 92 times what we experience on Earth. Standing on Venus without a suit would not feel like standing in heat. It would feel like standing 900 meters underwater while simultaneously being inside an oven. The pressure would crush you in seconds. The heat would cook what remained. Above all of this, a permanent cloud layer of sulfuric acid stretches across the entire sky, reflecting sunlight back into space and making Venus look deceptively bright and beautiful from a distance. Up close, it is a continuous chemical storm. No liquid water exists anywhere on the surface. No water has existed on Venus for billions of years. Whatever oceans it may have once had evaporated long ago in a runaway greenhouse effect that rewrote the planet entirely. This is the starting point for terraforming, not a slightly damaged planet that needs repairs. A world that has been fundamentally cooked, crushed, and poisoned at every level simultaneously. The first problem is the atmosphere, and the numbers make it almost impossible to think about clearly. To make Venus breathable, you would need to remove approximately 96% of its atmosphere. The carbon dioxide alone weighs roughly 480 trillion tons. Every proposal ever seriously suggested for doing this runs into the same wall. Where does it go? You cannot simply vent it into space. The energy required to accelerate that mass to escape velocity exceeds anything humanity could conceivably generate for centuries. Some proposals suggest converting the carbon dioxide into solid carbon and oxygen through engineered organisms or chemical processes. The oxygen would help. The carbon still needs somewhere to be stored, and the volume of solid carbon produced by converting the entire Venusian atmosphere would be geological in scale, requiring you to essentially build new mountain ranges to bury it. Other proposals involve redirecting comets or asteroids to crash nitrogen into Venus, since a breathable atmosphere needs nitrogen as its base. The number of impacts required to deliver enough nitrogen to balance a human breathable atmosphere is so large that the impacts themselves would reheat the surface to levels comparable to where it started. Every solution creates a new version of the original problem. The atmosphere of Venus is not just thick, it is a thermodynamic trap that resists every intervention we can currently conceive of. But suppose you somehow solve the atmosphere, strip the carbon dioxide, deliver the nitrogen, seed oxygen producing organisms across the surface. Centuries of work, incomprehensible energy expenditure, but assume it is done. You still have not solved the temperature. And the temperature problem runs deeper than most people realize. Even if you removed all the carbon dioxide tomorrow, the surface of Venus has been absorbing and re-radiating heat for hundreds of millions of years. The rock itself is hot. The ground is hot. Cooling a planet-sized mass of superheated rock to habitable temperatures through atmospheric manipulation alone would take thousands of years even under ideal conditions. You cannot air condition a planet. The heat stored in the crust has nowhere to go except slowly, over geological time, radiating back into space. During those thousands of years while the surface cools, any atmosphere you have constructed will be in constant chemical flux, reacting with the hot rock, cycling through temperatures incompatible with life, fighting against the residual heat budget of a world that spent billions of years cooking itself. And here is the detail that makes this worse than anything else on this list. Venus rotates once every 243 Earth days. A single Venusian day is longer than a Venusian year. The planet spins so slowly that one side faces the sun for over 100 Earth days at a time before rotating away. This means any terraformed surface would experience temperature swings between prolonged baking and prolonged darkness that no Earth-like ecosystem could survive. On Earth, the relatively fast 24-hour rotation distributes solar energy across the surface and drives the wind patterns that regulate temperature globally. On Venus, that regulation barely exists. The slow rotation means the sun side heats to extremes while the dark side drops, and the transition between them creates atmospheric dynamics that would tear apart any stable weather system you tried to establish. To fix the rotation, you would need to physically accelerate the planet. The energy required to spin Venus up to Earth like rotational speed is equivalent to the total energy output of the sun over several years. This is not an engineering challenge. It is a physical absurdity. Without fixing the rotation, any terraformed Venus remains a world of 100-day summers and 100-day winters with no stable temperate zone, no reliable seasons, and no consistent climate that complex life could adapt to. Then there is the magnetic field, or rather the complete absence of one. Earth's magnetic field is generated by the movement of molten iron in its outer core, a churning, rotating mass of conductive liquid that creates a protective bubble around the entire planet. This field deflects the solar wind, the constant stream of charged particles blasting out from the sun. Without it, the solar wind would strip the atmosphere away over millions of years. Venus has no meaningful magnetic field. Scientists believe this is connected to its slow rotation without a fast spin. The core does not generate sufficient dynamo action to produce a protective field. The solar wind hits the Venusian atmosphere directly, continuously eroding the upper layers. Terraforming Venus sounds like a bold idea, but the reality is far more extreme. Any atmosphere you try to build there would be constantly stripped away by the sun. The process is slow on a human timescale, but over centuries it becomes a losing battle, like filling a bucket that has a permanent hole in the bottom. Even if you could add air, you could not stop it from slowly escaping without solving deeper planetary problems that are currently beyond reach. Venus may also have once been Earth-like, with oceans, moderate temperatures, and possibly even conditions for life. But as the sun gradually brightened, water began to evaporate. That water vapor trapped more heat, causing more evaporation in a runaway cycle. Eventually, the oceans boiled away, hydrogen escaped into space, and oxygen locked into the rocks. The planet crossed a point of no return. What remains is a world shaped by irreversible physics, a thick toxic atmosphere, extreme heat stored in the surface, a very slow rotation that prevents stable climate cycles, and no magnetic field to protect any future atmosphere. Even if you removed the air, the surface would take thousands of years to cool. In simple terms, Venus is not a failed Earth waiting to be fixed. It is a planet locked into a stable but hostile state. The forces that created that state are still active today, and no current or near-future technology can fully reverse them. If this changed how you think about planetary science, share it with someone who still believes Venus is just Mars with better weather. And watch this next. It covers the one planet that might actually be terraformable, and what that would genuinely require.